Hey YouTube, Do-It-Yourself Junkie 369. Today is day 95 of our RV-10 build. Basically, I skipped a couple days to finish up deburring on the skins. I still haven't dimpled those yet. I have the top skins that I haven't deburred or dimpled. And I've been working on dimpling stringers still, those J stiffeners. And I'm going to take a break from that and start doing some assembly since I've since I've primed a lot of the frame pieces. Kind of get those in work. So, still hopping around to make stuff enjoyable. And we're going to start here on page 17, step 4, which is riveting the bell crank assembly together, which is basically 3 pieces and a bearing. And since I've been using the air compressor for a lot of other stuff, I need to remember to turn it back down for riveting. What I'm really thinking about doing is taking a Sharpie and writing clearly on the side of the air compressor what PSIs that I use for different stuff. Riveting, drilling, airing up tires. That way I always have it referenced right there where I'm making the adjustment. Okay, so right now I am going to be working on page 16, step 3, which is dimpling the skins. And in there it says don't dimple the ones for the gap cover that basically covers everything around the side of the aircraft, the vertical stabilizer and the horizontal stabilizer. And that piece, in case you're wondering, isn't included in this kit. I'm not sure which kit it comes in, but that's holes that I've marked on the skin. And then also it says don't rivet anything that is common, or don't dimple that is anything that is common to the forward bulkhead, which is 1006. And then obviously don't dimple your holes in your top skin that are for screws on that gap cover. And then also don't dimple the 2 holes in the side skins that are for the static system. If you're not planning on having a static system, it says you can dimple those and fill them with a rivet, but I can't imagine who's building this aircraft and not sticking a static system in it, or using holes that already exist to install that static system. That location was probably planned for a reason. I am going to deviate from what it's telling us not to dimple, just because I've read through this section and I've read through section 43 where the 2 halves are mated up, where you drill those holes and dimple them and eventually rivet. And I can't figure out a couple of the holes how I would dimple them once the tail comes assembled. For example, I have all these holes here on the bottom skin marked no, except for this corner and this corner. And basically I have these marked as yes, I will dimple them, because that is where the side skins overlap with the bottom skin. And if you don't dimple that hole, or the one in the side skin that corresponds to it, and you rivet this hole right here that is about 3/4 of an inch away, I don't think you'll be able to spread those 2 skin pieces enough to stick a pair of dimple dies in there. And I'm not sure that even with the squeezer that you would be able to dimple both pieces together. So that's one example where I'm going to deviate. The side skins have some additional places that are similar to that. So in the side skins, here's the top, and you can see I've marked no everywhere where a screw is going to be holding that gap cover in place. Right here is another no. That's the hole for where the static port is going to go. I have looked at aftermarket static ports. Supposedly there's some really nice ones that people buy, and then they have calibration issues. And what I think is going on is anything that is flush with the skin is going to have kind of a issue with calibration. If you have any that stick above the skin, like the Cessna style one that is like a cylindrical puck that sticks up from the skin about 1/8 of an inch, supposedly that one works fine. And I think that's because this location and Van's design is kind of based on a rivet head. So if you have something that protrudes from the skin, like a pop rivet head style, that's probably going to work okay. And it's interesting enough that while I was looking for aftermarket ones, it turns out Vans now sells one that is machined, that is kind of based on that rivet head design, but it looks a lot nicer, and it seems to have a lock nut on the back of it that it screws onto the skin rather than being a pop rivet. And then it's got barbs on it for attaching the hose, and it seems like that system's better at least it looks better than just using a pop rivet. So that's the way, and it's kind of designed around that pop rivet design. So the outside surface of it's kind of machined to have that profile, but overall it seems like it looks a lot nicer. And I'm planning on trying that one out. It's cheap enough that if I don't like it, I can probably go and buy the Cessna style, the cylindrical puck, that actually protrudes a little bit more than what this looks like it's protruding. Back to which ones you're not supposed to be dimpling. Any up here that are part of that 1006 bulkhead aren't supposed to be riveted. But like I said, this one that matches up to the bottom skin, I don't think you'll be able to pry that far enough apart to dimple it individually, and I don't think you'll be able to dimple both pieces together. And that also applies anywhere where a stiffener occurs. You have the stiffener riveted down to this hole, which is only an inch from this hole, and I don't think you're going to be able to pry that stiffener and that skin far enough apart to put a set of dimple dies in there. And I'm almost 100% sure on that one that you won't be dimpling the skin and the stiffener together. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong in the comments. So I'm planning on going ahead and dimpling those 3 holes despite the instructions not to. All of these holes I'm not dimpling. All the holes in between those I'm not dimpling. Those are going to get match drilled when you're putting the 2 halves together. So they're not even the right size yet for the dimple die to really fit in there. And then last one is the same thing as the stiffeners, is the one up here for the longeron, or longeron, however you want to pronounce it. I don't feel like you're going to be able to peel that skin far enough away to dimple that, so I'm going to go ahead and dimple it before I install it on the aircraft. And during the match drilling, it said don't drill any of these holes. Well, I will admit that I drilled these 4 holes that I'm talking about, because you had to put the holes, you had to drill holes into your stiffeners that were laying underneath that point, and you had to drill a hole in your longeron that needed a hole in that location. So those got drilled. Figured if I drilled them, I might as well dimple them. So that's my plan. Go ahead and tell me in the comments that I'm wrong and I shouldn't do that. By the time you do that, it'll have already been done and I can't go back and change it. So hopefully there's not anything too negative that you guys have to say about me deviating from the plans in that location. It does seem that, like I said, I read ahead to section 43, I believe it is, where you make the 2 pieces together, and those are getting dimpled for flush head rivets. So it wasn't, I wanted to read ahead and at least make sure that there wasn't a universal rivet going in there with the dome head, and then I've really screwed up because I've dimpled that area. That's not the case. I've made sure that wasn't the case. And as far as match drilling the tail cone and the fuselage together, I think I'll be okay with those 4 holes. Basically, I'll be match drilling all the other holes, and then on those 4 holes it'll just be upsizing the hole to the correct size, and it should line up. I can drill through that or that dimpled hole. I just have to be really careful with it. But I'd rather deal with that than try to figure out how to dimple those holes when everything's riveted together and you only have like 1 inch of free play or free skin. It just, in my mind, it's not going to work out. For anybody that's already built one of these, if you're watching, let me know if I screwed up. Not much that I can do about it other than order all new parts, which is likely not going to happen. That being said, I am not dimpling or messing with that bulkhead at all, because that is removable, and you'll be able to pull it out and work with that section and do the dimpling after you've match drilled. It's just those 4 holes on each side that I'm really worried about. Anyway, enough of me talking about it. I'm going to work on doing some dimpling, and other than that, that's going to be it for this video. Okay, that's going to bring this video to an end. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. As always, an up-to-date build log is linked in the description below the video. Feel free to click that and see where I'm at. There are several tabs in there. One has tools that I've used and what I've started using that tool. Another day is looking at another tab is looking at what I've spent on the project so far, and the last tab kind of has statistics, and what I've gone and done in there is each kit I've broken it out by section, and then I'm putting number of rivets and number of hours for each section, and that's some pretty interesting statistics that people always seem to ask about but nobody really tracks. And also in that tab I'm thinking about looking at some other builders' logs where they've tracked hours like I am by section and kind of putting them up there for a comparison. I probably won't put their names or who it was. I'll just put like builder A, builder B. That way I can kind of look at it and see what speed I'm building at compared to other builds out there. If you haven't done so and would like to, go ahead and subscribe. You don't have to hit the bell icon unless you want to receive notifications. But if you subscribe, I'll show up in your subscribers list, and every time I post a video, there'll be a little notification dot next to my channel icon or picture. And if you're thinking about building an airplane, I highly recommend a Vans. I highly recommend a Vans aircraft kit. I probably can't say enough good stuff about them. They have a wide range of kits, 2-seat, 4-seat. Obviously the only one you can get is the 10 if you're going with the Vans. They have acrobatic, non-acrobatic, light sport aircraft and the RV-12. So definitely a lot of different missions that they can cover, side-by-side, tandem, I mean, just great stuff. And if you do purchase your empennage kit and start building a Vans aircraft, and you enjoyed this channel, feel free to use my builder number. Vans will send me $100 as kind of a thank you. It's kind of their way of advertising, and it doesn't tack anything extra onto your purchase. It's just they like people spreading how their kits are. Word of mouth is a lot better than some advertisement, and that's their way of saying thank you. Anyway, that's all I have, and next time you see me, it might be 2 or 3 days later with how much dimpling I have to do, and then I have to prime the inside of all these skins. But by the time that you see me in the next video, I should be assembling the tail cone on the sawhorses again and preparing to rivet the skins and basically final assembly of the tail cone. So I'm pretty excited about that. Even though I'm ending the video, I'll probably stay out here dimpling even though it's 9 o'clock at night right now. Yesterday actually stayed up until 11:30 working on this thing, and it was not so easy to get out of bed this morning. Great thing about building in your garage if you can do it, because it's easy, like, hey, I wake up, I can't sleep, come out here and work on it. If I was in a hangar around 9-10 o'clock at night, my wife would probably start texting me going, where are you? And then also I'm thinking like, hey, depending on where my hangar was located at, I've still got to drive all the way home and manage not to hit a deer or something while doing that. So I'm going to put off moving the aircraft to a hangar as long as I possibly can in favor of working in this cramped garage, just because of the convenience of it and how easy it is just to come out here and spend some time on it. And with that, I always have to find space. You might notice that the horizontal stabilizer is no longer on my bench. I finally got around to hanging it on the wall over there. Hopefully by the time the wings are completed, I have that wall cleared out, because I'm going to need some place to put the wings. As always, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.